want to start firing away with questions, if you guys want to use the raise hand option in the chat, or just fire away if you have a question, we'll try to keep it somewhat organized as best we can here. So Steve, go ahead, fire away.
Yeah, my guys, how did you guys decide to come down here for this weekend and have a little fun back in your stomping grounds?
Richard?
Channing?
Murph and Jay Gardner guilted us. No. I think, it's hard for all of our schedules to align. And I think for us, we've been wanting to come back as a group and really continue to support U of A and Tommy. And I think for us, obviously the fact that it worked out, the fact that, there's going to be a really big football game too. And the fact that this team has pretty high hopes, I think it just all worked out. So we're pretty hype. I know I am. And I know Allie Clifton has never seen a real college campus. So it's good that she finally sees one.
Yeah. No, I think for us, you want to lend, whatever your talents are post your career. There's guys like, Luke Walton and Brett Brillmeyer. These guys, they might come back and help coach and work with the players. Channing and I, we entered into kind of the entertainment space after our retirement. And so when they give us an opportunity to host and connect to the crowd and the team, that's kind of what we do now. And so for us to get an opportunity to come back and do it and also I think it's an opportunity to show guys when they do retire, there are great opportunities out there if you put some work in. Only question. Awesome. Well, thank you guys, man. We appreciate this. It's been so much fun.
Guys, when you go back, this event is pretty unique in college basketball, and I'm not sure people outside of the state are aware of it. How would you describe the energy going back to your playing days of this event? Just, packing the house for what amounts to a preseason scrimmage.
Let me take this one. My 6 and 8 year old boys are going to go to Tucson. I don't know if it's the first time, but this is the first time they'll fully get it, the experience. And I am so excited because there is no other experience like this. When my kids get a chance to see that people go crazy over just an inter squad scrimmage and it's sold out and they're going to have jerseys on with their names on the back, my kids are going to lose it because this is such a unique experience inside of the culture of basketball. And, to get that experience and to be a part of it is something that's special.
I think it just shows you like how important U of A basketball is, not only to Tucson, but to Arizona. I think, it's easy to go to an Arizona-Kansas game, an Arizona-UCLA game when they're both ranked pretty high, but to pack it out and have the electricity and energy of like a red and blue game, like as a freshman, you see glimpses of it, right? You may go to a red and blue game, but like when I went to go see Richard, when I was a junior in high school, I was like, oh, this is the #1 team in the country. Of course they're going to go pack it out. But then we were like, I think my freshman year, we were supposed to be like last in the Pac-10.
Yeah, something you guys were supposed to be trash.
We were supposed to be, but we weren't. So fuck you. But like, it just is like you realize that it's more than just basketball. This is like the culture of Tucson. So it gets you hype. It gets me hype talking about it.
Bruce, you got anything?
Do you guys have any particular memories from either of your game, playing in that game? Maybe especially as a freshman, because a lot of guys say even as a freshman, it's the first time, even though you all come in, you're all Americans as high school players, et cetera, but you come in and your first time you're playing maybe in front of that kind of crowd. Do you have any memories of that or any other game for that matter? Red Blue.
I remember Coachella was very serious. From my freshman year to my senior year, I realized how serious and kind of nervous Coach O was. He was like, this is not a joke. This is a regular game. And this is going to determine, other than Jason, Ricky, and Luke, who's going to start. So like we had 5 freshmen. So Coach was serious. So we took that game very serious as far as I remember. And like, it was pretty intense. And afterwards, we were like, damn, like, all right, Isaiah, you get to start. And then I think Will Bynum got to start, and they started the first half of the season. So it just set the tone for like that year. And then finally our senior year, coach was like, do not get hurt, like go out here, you're going to run around and then like, enjoy it. But, tomorrow starts the real stuff. Don't get hurt doing nothing stupid. A big change for the first year where he was like, go kill each other.
Anything for you, Richard?
No, nothing that just stands out. It's just good practice.
Aiden, Wool, go ahead.
For either of you, what are your thoughts on the 97 throwback jerseys that Arizona wore last year?
The best? Second best.
Well, look, I guess, honestly, considering that Gonzaga stole our design, from, the Arizona True Design on the West Coast, almost the color scheme, everything. So I think to bring it back to that 90 to that 97 OG vibe, that is special. I think the Reds are really cool. Me personally, the Reds, the OG blue ones that they won in the championship game, and then the original 88 uniforms with that Arizona logo with the cactus, that to me will always be Arizona basketball, and everything else is just an extension of those two images.
Yeah, it's, if you don't get hyped for seeing those kind of jerseys, you didn't really get Arizona.
Well, and even say this, like, to understand that is to understand Arizona basketball. I remember we were Lloyd Olson. We fought to get the red uniforms, and it was like my sophomore year. He led us to get the red uniforms, and we were probably 0-2 in them, and we rolled out to UCLA, and it was an early game. You probably have 10,000 kids screaming, "They've got their reds on. They've got their reds on," because they knew that we hadn't won in our red uniforms. We lost that game, and then Lloyd Olson told us, "You're never putting on those red uniforms again."
We put them on and we won, Richard. Don't worry about that.
Well, he told our team that. Our team lost that privilege of putting on the red uniforms.
Those red uniforms are, I have it in here somewhere. It's in like the Hall of Fame, like my Hall of Fame jerseys. That's like top 3 favorite jerseys of all time. I mean, just like both of us are from Arizona. So like there are certain shoes, there are certain jerseys, there are certain players that you're just like forever are ingrained into your brain. So, and then those jerseys are definitely it.
Yeah, the first year I watched basketball in a college space, it was 1994. I was 14 years old, and I sat on spring break with nothing else to do because I was poor. And so I sat on spring break at home, and I watched the NCAA tournament. And that was the year that Arizona made it to the Final Four. I had no idea about Lloyd Olson, no idea about college basketball, no idea about nothing. I played in the park. I watched White Man Can't Jump. That was the basketball I enjoyed. So to know that a school of that caliber was right down the street, it just engaged my interest in basketball. And it's part of the reason why I still come back and support the university.
Addison, go ahead.
Yeah, so kind of jumping on that, supporting the university, Richard. This question is just for Channing. I see that Richard has his name at the practice facility, and I was wondering if you're going to make any kind of donations or kind of get yourself in the program, kind of like the way Richard has.
Yeah, I've donated millions of dollars of dirt bags over my 2 years of being. So
hey, do not see. No, you laugh about that, Channing, but do not discount the amount of money that we have spent continuing the economics in Tucson over the years, in the bars, at shell bags, dirt bags.
Oh, man. You know what? Maybe. I think it just depends. I'm not competing with Richard, right? Richard has that gym. I think I have a brick, which is perfectly fine.
You don't have a brick anywhere. You don't have a brick.
I have one brick. I have
Where?
one brick. It's with the other bricks. I gotta check it out. We gotta see. But no, it may be in the near future. If my kids end up going there, then I'll definitely think about maybe getting a dorm room or something so you get a little discount.
David Kelly, go ahead.
Hey, for both of you guys, thanks for doing this. Is there things that you can point to about your experience here at the U of A that have kind of helped you both kind of carve out the media careers that you have?
No, I would say this. Every group is different. I think the Lute Olson group of guys, I think the Sean Miller, and then obviously the Coach Lloyd, like each group is different. Our group was a very social group. It was just a very social group. And if you think about colleges, the group that on recruits the next group, recruits the next group, recruits the next group. So it's all kind of like-minded guys. So when you look at Steve Kerr, and there you got Andre Iguodala, who's in that. Luke Walton's also a coach. Channing and I are in the entertainment space. Sean Elliott does a ton of stuff. Gilbert Arenas, while I would not suggest digesting his content, yes, he's in the entertainment space. So when you look at that group and that era, there's a lot of guys that have entered into coaching, entered into entertainment, because that was what was going on in our locker rooms over those eras, especially the Lute Olson one. So that's the one thing that I would say, is that collectively as a group, it was a lot of talking about basketball. So you see guys going into coaching. There was a lot of talking about basketball. So you see guys going into TVs. That's the culture that was going on inside the locker room when we were there. So from that aspect, yes, being in those environments put us in a space to go talk about basketball, because we're around so many high level, intelligent people that just want to discuss basketball. If you're around Andre Iguodala, if you're around Gilbert, if you're around Luke, if you're having dinner, the only thing you're talking about is basketball and just all the shit. And so that, from that space, being in that culture helps.
Yeah, I think to piggyback on that, I think we were just taught basketball, not as individuals, but as to see the game as it is, right? So each one of us had an individual job and had to understand the game and how to be good at it. And what that did was it allowed us to see the game from a fan's perspective, but also as an NBA player's perspective, right? Or those kind of guys. So for me, when I talk about basketball, why are you zooming in on your face, Richard?
I was turning off the center stage thing. It's weird, and switching to gallery view. Like, and I know you're not going to allow my ADD to distract you when you're over here doing
Sorry.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Thanks.
No, I just think if you really look at everyone, we're just students of the game. And so the way we talk about it is easy. It translates. Like Steve Kerr was doing TV before he was a coach. Sean Elliott's been doing TV for a long time. I forgot who's been doing radio for the Warriors for 30 years.
Tom Tolbert,
right? You look at all those players, and then you look at like Brillmeyer or Brazi or Luke or all these other guys, obviously Steve, who are coaches now. We just Damon Stoudemire, Josh, Jack, like all those guys. Everyone just learns the game the right way, and so we just want to give back. And I think if we didn't have such a great time at U of A, really appreciate the opportunity, I don't think we'd be as committed to the game of basketball as we are.
Channing would be the world's tallest accountant if he didn't go to Arizona.
I have a math disability, so no, I would not. And I'm sticking by that.
Okay, you would have been the janitor at the accounting place.
I have back problems, which I can't be sweeping. Plus, I have soft hands. It's good for shooting.
Ryan Hansen, go ahead.
First of all, what's up, fellas? Good to see you.
Rhino, what up, Julio?
Looking skinny. What you doing, dog? You go vegan?
Hey, back to my fighting weight, baby.
He's still eating his wife's cooking.
Hey, not sure if you guys have seen the schedule, non-conference schedule this year, but it kind of brings you back to the days of when you guys were playing, and it was murderer's row, especially Channing, your freshman year. And Richard, you remember playing Michigan State and at UConn, getting screwed at UConn. Talk to the nature. That's part of the Arizona basketball legacy, right? Is we play anybody, anytime, anywhere, and we're kind of back.
Fucking talk that shit, Rhino. Let's fucking go. You're getting me hyped in this bitch. Yes. Where you want it. Come, whoever wants it. Let's go. Like that Lute Olson was like, you guys want to play at Kansas? You guys want to go to North Carolina? You guys want to go play at Duke? Yeah, let's go. Oh, we want to go play Illinois in the United Center. Let's sell that out. 2 top 5 teams in the country. We're going to go to Chicago and play there. Yeah, damn right. Let's go. It sounds like fun, coach. But this is also this is where I think the one and done, and we don't need to get into it. Having a one and done, you don't get that experience of like, oh, we've been into Kansas, we've had to go here. You might get that in a single year, but your freshman year, your eyes are really big. Your sophomore year, you're like, okay, I understand this. Your junior year, you're like, oh, fuck, let's go. So like, that's where the maturity used to happen in basketball, and you used to get better and you used to develop and you used to understand these moments. But that's also why you would get so many guys that would go to Arizona and know how to contribute at a high level. I always joke that, look, Lute Olson, Iguodala was going to make it to the NBA. Mike Bibby was going to make it. The fact that Lute Olson could get the Channings and the Tom Tolberts and the Sean Rooks and could get these guys to have 10 plus years, the Luke Waltons, 10 plus years in the league, that just goes to show not just the level of basketball that's taught, but the level of competitiveness that was going on in that locker room, and we're put in the position on the court. So for me, it's play everybody, because that, and it doesn't even matter if you're losing them. Play it, because there's going to be one year where, you know, you got the seniors and or the juniors and you're whooping one team's ass. The next year you got the freshmen and you're getting your butt whipped, but your freshmen learn some lessons. You know, so there's a lot to be said, even in the losses in those moments. But high competitive basketball, that's why I went to Arizona.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like that being number one all season thing. That's not what you go to Arizona for. You go to Arizona to have an opportunity to go to the Elite Eight, the Final Four, to win a chip. But I know we haven't been there for a while. And so I think preparing.
Since Richard's team.
Actually, since Elite Eight, since my team. But that's all right. Fuck you, Richard. Listen, so to compete, to put those guys in that position is better for them over the long run. It's better for the team to say, oh, well, we went to Kansas and played Kansas. Like now during the tournament, if we got to play, you know, Texas and San Antonio, that's nothing, right? You're not even fazed by that. You're excited by that. So number one, I think it's great for TV. And number three, number two, I think it's great for the tournament. Because during the tournament, you're like, man, we've already seen it. Whether you're the 4 seed, 7, 2, whatever it is, you've already been battle tested.
Wait, Chang, did you guys win the preseason in IT?
I can't remember.
Well, I look, I'm crazy, so I remember. But we won the Maui Classic, we won the preseason in IT, and it's like you're playing against, you know, North Carolina, you're playing against Kentucky, you're playing against Illinois. Like these are the teams, Notre Dame. You know, these are the teams that you want to play against, and we would start the season with those. And I know those tournaments still exist; there's no difference. But we used to start with the preseason in IT, and it was like it made preseason practices more intense. We can't mess around these first two games when you got to play Kentucky in the finals of the NIT potentially in 2 weeks. So it was putting that schedule in. Just seeing that on your schedule made those preseason practices and the red and blue game and all of these things matter something, because, you know, we all wanted to make it, and you knew that there was going to be a list of teams that were waiting and everybody was going to be watching.
Bruce, go ahead.
Hey, Richard, you talked about, you know, the way you guys kind of carried things forward, you know, from cohort to cohort or whatever in the Lute era. I know you didn't necessarily play with Shannon. I was just curious if you remember help getting involved with his recruitment back in the day, and how y'all kept that friendship up, how your friendship grew over the years. Because obviously, you know, playing with the Cavaliers and starting this podcast and all that, it seems like you guys have grown pretty tight.
We were just both from Phoenix. You know, it was pretty simple after that. Bibby, you know, there's not many Phoenix guys. So after that, we just, you know, we all still maintain relationships. Jared Bayless, all of those guys.
Yeah. How about, like, you know, I mean, were you guys, you know, into your NBA careers? Were we always close, or did it really grow when you played with the Cavs too?
No, since high school. We went and watched him play in the state championship game after we recruited.
Yeah, I committed. I literally committed my junior year. I went on one official trip or one unofficial trip. I saw, you know, Richard and Gil and Jay Gardner and Luke, and was like, yo, I got to come here. Jay John said, well, unless you commit now, we're going to go get Jamal Sampson or Tyson Chandler or those guys. And I said, no. So I went to the media the next day and said, hey, I'm going to Arizona. And then once I like kind of sort of signed those papers, Coach O sent me the real workout sheet, right? Which was like, yo, get better quickly. But it made me who I am, right? It was like putting the pressure on myself to live up to the expectations of what was happening at U of A is just something that I always kind of enjoy. And then having to deal with Richard consistently is just something that is like, it's like having a mole on your neck. It's like you can't get rid of it, but now it's part of you.
All right.
Aiden, go ahead.
So there's a little criticism, I guess, by other U of A alumni when Tommy Lloyd was originally hired as head coach. I was just wondering for either of you guys, what would you say his progression, your thoughts of his progression over his 3 years as head coach so far?
I got this. Aiden, what was the criticism?
Just that he wasn't, I guess, fit to be the coach at the time.
Channing, I don't remember anybody saying that he wasn't fit. So that's the thing. A lot of people want to take, there was criticism of Tommy Lloyd. There was never criticism of Tommy Lloyd. That not fit. I know his resume. I know where he came from. I know what he did. Fit. There was no fit. The criticism was when the contract gets leaked the day they're interviewing Damon Stoudemire and Miles Simon. The criticism was those guys not feeling like they had a fair chance. The criticism was we should probably interview some of these names and give second interviews. So how we come back to the school and uplift the younger generation, the school has an opportunity to lift up the next generation of coaches. So let's say like a guy like Brett Brillmeyer gets a second interview, even if it's window dressing, that helps him on his next interview. If you get a guy like Miles Simon that gets a second interview, even if that means you have to extend the process another 10 days, that's fine. But how are you not bringing these guys in just for interview sakes so that they can say they've received interviews? That's how this process works. So the criticism was never in Tommy. It was never in his coaching resume. It was never that. It was you have an opportunity to, even if you're not going to hire him, to lift up the next 10 U of A alumni coaches. So those guys get the chance like, Damon Stoudemire is coming in. Okay, well, next week he's coming in for round 2. Do you know what that says to all the other universities? Like, oh, wow, Damon Stoudemire is getting a second interview. It's down to him and 2 other people. We should bring him in because Arizona was close. We got lucky. That's the way the system works. So if you're going to ask us to come back and support the next generation, well, then their responsibility as a university is to make sure that they're doing that also for the guys that are out there representing the university from their past work. That's where the criticism came in. It was never about Tommy Lloyd. It was never about his success. It was never about anything. But people want to take it like, they weren't happy and so now he's winning games. They're happy now. It's like, we know where he came from. We know his basketball pedigree. We were excited to get a level of that. The criticism was purely based off of how the process went, how the coaching search should have gone, in my opinion, that would have benefited guys in our Arizona tree, even if they had zero chance of getting the job. That's the way you should do it.
And let's just say this. The people on that list are more than qualified to coach anywhere in the United States Division I, some of the best schools. Damon Stoudemire just went to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years ago, and now is coaching at Georgia Tech. Look at Jack Murphy has coached his thing. Brett Brillmeyer's coached under Popovich. You look at their resumes, it's just out of
I won a championship. We both won a championship with Brett Brillmeyer.
Right. And the fact that they still want to come back to college, to this college, you have to give that a good look to the rest of the world, to the rest of the players trying to build up to that. So for us, we want to take care of our own. I know how much work all those guys have done. Give them a chance to be successful, especially from your hometown. You got to give them a little hometown.
Yeah, they call it a fraternity and they call it a family. So one of the parts of a fraternity is you make sure that you help your brothers in the fraternity. So if in 25 years, 30 years after Coach Lloyd retires, if the job opens up again, they should interview 10 Arizona alumni and 2, even if it's the Rex. Then you narrow it down to 5 Arizona alumni. And then but that's how you allow these guys that opportunity to say that I was a part of this. And for people that aren't familiar with the coaching thing, getting an interview as a coach, there's a presentation that you have to make. And the more you practice that presentation, the better you get at it, the better chance you have of getting the job. That's why just even getting an interview is a big deal in those moments. So you always want to take care of your guys and give them interviews, even if you feel like there's a 1% chance that they would get the job. I hope that cleared it up.
Guys, I want to be mindful of your time here. If we do these last 3 questions from these last 3 guys, is that okay? Do you have time for that?
We got time for 2, or else Allie's going to cut us.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. It is.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Saul, go ahead.
Guys, I know you obviously you guys talked about your history in Arizona and playing club ball, Arizona Stars and all that stuff. But what's your perspective on Tommy's international recruiting and being in locker rooms with international players yourselves? What is maybe a misconception about the European players and how they can contribute immediately, maybe at the college level?
I mean, I hoop with Yvonne was my guy in college, right? I think the biggest thing is the cultural difference, right? When you get European players, you have to show them they don't grow up loving Arizona, right? They're not from Arizona. They don't feel that college vibe, right? To them, they've been pros for a long time and they act according. So for me, I appreciate that he's going to get the best talent from across the world. The thing that I hope that happens is that they see and feel the love and camaraderie that we have. It's not just another team. You're part of the family. And I think that's the biggest thing that needs to be portrayed to them and for them to get the best version out of them. They can go play, but when they feel like it's their family, you're going to get the best version of them.
Look, I don't care where you're from. This is basketball. If you're from Mars, if you've got 3 arms, if we're on the basketball court and we're on the same jersey, that I'm indifferent about that. Like Channing says, like if they're European players, if they're African players, I played with Robertus Yaftokis, and then 5 years later I'm playing against them in the Olympics, and he was on our team for a training camp. Point being is that I think the true test of Tommy Lloyd is going to be the next 2 seasons, next 3 seasons, right? The success that he has had has been so amazing, like the support that the community and the alumni have shown him. But we know this. At Arizona, Elite Eights don't get it done. Like tournaments don't get it done. Pac-12 titles don't get it done. Like we have been searching for a Final Four for 20 plus years. We've got tons of Elite Eights. We've won, like Sean Miller was the winningest coach in the Pac-12 over his tenure. Like we've had all the success. There is one thing. And so that's where the pressure starts to build, is if you have good teams for 5-6 years, you go to the tournament, Arizona. It's Arizona. You're going, as long as you don't mess it up, it's Arizona. You should be able to get players here. And so that's where the pressure starts. And so I'm excited to see the next few years. And I think Tommy's going to crush it. And I think we're going to get our first Final Four, I'm going to say in the next 2-3 years.
All right, guys, it's 11 o'clock here. I'll let you guys go. You got to go.
All right.
Another meeting. So I appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you guys here this weekend.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.